This is a reading for Preston, and it's just a general reading regarding his current relationship. So for this reading, I'll be using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Now this is a bit of a large spread here. It's called the Relationship Spread. So it's a 15 card spread. I'll just go over what each card is going to be about. So the first one here is what you provide to the relationship. This one here is where you stand in the present. And this is where you hope to stand in the future. This one here is where your partner is, what they're hoping for, where they stand in the present, and what they provide to the relationship. The seventh card here is how the other person is viewed, and this one here is how the other person views you. Then we have the ninth card, and that's how you perceive them in the past, and the 10th card is how they perceived you in the past. Then we have the 11th card is your present doubts and fear, and this is their doubts and fear. The 13th card is external influences motivating you, and this one here is the external influence motivating them. And the final card is the future of the relationship. So before I get started with this reading, I just would like to do a quick prayer. I call upon my angels and my guides to please be in communication with Preston's angels and guides. May you provide a clear and accurate reading. I also call upon Archangel Michael to please surround us in white light so that only divine messages may come through. Alright, so we're going to start with the first card, and this card here represents what you provide to the relationship. And for this one here is we got the Queen of Swords. So the Queen of Swords is a quick thinker, is perceptive. Now sword tends to refer to logic or reason, and the Queen tends to reflect more to maturity level. So what this kind of saying is you have like a mature logical approach to basically the relationship here. So the second card we're going to look at is where you stand in the present. And for this one here is we have the Six of Pentacles reversed. So normally the Six of Pentacles would kind of talk about generosity, charity, giving, and on the resource side, right? So the pentacle always kind of reflects on the resource side. Now the resource isn't always money, it could be kind of time, it could be that sort of stuff, right? So because this isn't a reverse situation, what this is telling me is at this stage of the relationship, you're still a little bit greedy. And what I mean by that is you like to have her time, you like to have her attention, so it's just kind of bit in a, you're kind of still, you know, a little bit greedy about her time and that sort of stuff, right? So then on the third card is where you hope to stand in the future, and for this one here we have the Page of Pentacles. So normally it means kind of manifestation, new enterprise. So what that kind of is telling me, now the page, the Queen reflects, you know, maturity. There's a King would reflect kind of like being wise. The Knight kind of has more of like an adolescent feel or view about it. The Page is a little bit more kind of like a childish, so it's kind of, or, you know, kind of a, not as developed, I guess. So what's kind of telling me is what you're hoping for in the future is kind of still definitely intent to be in the relationship, but it's, I think you kind of realize that this is still in the beginning stages. Then we're going to go over to card number 4, and this is what they are hoping for. And for this one here, we have the Seven of Sword reverse. Now, normally the Seven of Sword kind of talks about betrayal, deception. Now, because this is in a reverse situation, and this is what she's hoping for, it sounds like she's kind of really hoping that she's, there's not going to be betrayal there, that she's, it's kind of a bit of insecurity based, but she's just kind of hoping that, like that this is what it seems to be and that she's not going to be betrayed. Tends to be what she's thinking here. Now, the next card talks about where she stands in the present, and it's the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace normally talks about a beginning, and the one is kind of like action or event. So this kind of really indicates that this is a new relationship for her. It's, definitely in the beginning stages, and things are just kind of starting to take place, right? And then in the last card, the sixth card here, the last one in this row is what they provide to the relationship. And for this one here, we have the Five of Cups. So Cups talks about more on an emotional aspect of it. And so this one's kind of talking about loss, regrets. So it sounds like she definitely has loss or insecurities in her background that, she's bringing to this relationship here. So this is something that's affecting the current relationship. There's insecurities there that's showing itself, right? So the next card that we have here, that's going to be the one on the top, and this one here talks about how the other person is viewed, so how you're viewing her. And we have the Three of Sword reverse. Now, normally the Three of Sword talks about heartbreak or separation, grief. So now because this is a reverse situation and this is how you're viewing her, it seems like you're aware that there's been kind of a heartbreak in the past there, and you're kind of more acting on as a protector almost, and you're aware of the situation, you're kind of up to the challenge, you're taking on that baggage willingly, right? Now for her, how she views you, we have the Emperor. The Emperor kind of talks about structure, solid foundation. So it's kind of like she's viewing you as a rock, like as stability. Like you're nice and safe. And then we're going to go into the ninth card, and that's how you perceive them in the past. And for this one here, we have the King of Sword in reverse. And normally that talks about clear thinking. So it kind of tells me that because it's in a reverse position, is that you kind of viewed them as someone who was unsure or distracted, right? They didn't seem quite to be sure of themselves. It wasn't clear as to, or they weren't, somebody who was very, because I would view the King of Swords somebody who really knows what they want, and because this is a reverse situation, you can view them as somebody who was unsure of what they wanted. So for her, on how she used to view you, we have the Seven of Wand reverse. So normally the Seven of Wand would kind of talk about competition, perseverance. So because it's in a reverse situation, so it's kind of lack of competition, I think what this one is saying here is that she's kind of viewed you as somebody who was easy to approach, like somebody who was almost like a sure deal. It was easy. It wasn't scary. It wasn't anything that was required a lot of I guess a lot of effort, a lot of work. It's kind of how she viewed you, just somebody who was kind of easy to approach, easy to connect to. So now we're going to go into the next part of the reading here. So the 11th card is your present doubts and fears. And for that one, we have the Eight of Wands. So, and that's the 11th card. So the Eighth of Wands talks about change, because wands is definitely talks about like kind of actions. So it sounds like you're kind of liking where the situation is now, and you're kind of worried about things changing, and that's, you know, like just kind of not turning out quite the way you're hoping for. So you're kind of worried about the relationship changing into something different, and you're worried that it's not going to be exactly what you're hoping for, right? Now for her doubts and fear, we have in card 12 here the sun. And this is a really interesting card because the sun normally reflects happiness. You know, it's a joyful card. It's a good card. But because this isn't a fear situation, it's almost like she's scared of her letting herself get happy. Because of the beginning course cards that we looked at, there's a lot of insecurities there. So it looks like she's scared of kind of letting go and letting herself be kind of completely happy. She's still holding on to those insecurities, and that's showing up here. Now for card 13, and this one here is the external influence motivating you, we have the Two of Sword reverse. So sword normally talks about reason, and then the Two of Sword here is kind of normally would mean kind of choices. But because this isn't a reverse situation, it's kind of telling me you're not contemplating any other relationships right now. Like as far as you're concerned, there's no other choices. You're kind of looking at this relationship really only. Now for her, external influence motivating her, we have for that card the Ten of Pentacles reverse. So the Ten of Pentacles would normally talk about wealth, establishment. So because this isn't a reverse situation, it sounds like, you know, so there's lack of resources that's kind of influencing her situation a little bit. As I said, resources can be time, it could be, you know, it could be money, it could be just the education, knowledge, that sort of stuff. And because this isn't a reverse situation, it's kind of just saying there's, you know, there's a little bit of worry on that side. It just could just be that she's, you know, her emotional availability is kind of or a bit of a lack of her being emotionally available is influencing her a little bit there. Then in the last card here, and this is the future of the relationship. And for this one here, we have the Eight of Pentacles reverse. So normally the Eight of Pentacles would kind of mean, you know, working, you know, kind of working hard towards something, or what's the proper like engagement, right? Kind of being fully engaged in the project and stuff. Now, because this one here is reverse, what this is telling me is because of the insecurities that is in the relationship now, if it ever comes to a point where, you know, there's going to need to be effort in this in the relationship and that sort of stuff, I think this relationship would struggle through that kind of time. It's working now because things are coming together fairly easily. You're supporting each other, and that's great. But I think if it comes to a point where it demands a little bit of effort, those insecurities may get in the way, and kind of the effort in the relationship may not be placed as it should be. But hopefully the relationship is effortless, and then that doesn't really kind of really come to be at this time anyways. Okay, well, Preston, this was your reading. I hope it resonated with you. Have a wonderful day.